Welcome to another episode of the Emulsion podcast, a show for chefs who want to think better, increase their performance, and believe that it's possible to take lessons from what others have learned. I am your host, Justin Khanna, and I'd love to continue the conversation with you from this episode on my online Circle community. There you can share your 2 cents and learn about supporting the show on justinkhanna.com/support. For your convenience, it's also linked up in the description of your podcast player. Let's get into the show. What is up, folks? My guest today on the podcast is Marie Méon, the owner of Manger Manger, a multidisciplinary platform where food and ingredients are thought of as creative tools. That's the pitch from the site. I met Marie, aka Yuki, that's how, her friends call her, I suppose, back in 2015, believe it or not, when I had a dinner with her at Le Chateaubriand in Paris on a trip for a guest chef dinner. So when I was working in Norway, Chef did a guest chef dinner in Paris, and I was asked to go help cook with that, and that's where I met Marie, and, Anna and I have had trips to Paris since then, where we've gotten the pleasure to hang out with Marie, where she eats through Paris with us. I'm very, very excited to chat with her about culinary education, customized creativity, and how she approaches private events, which might especially get some of you folks who are doing pop-ups excited. If you enjoy this interview, I also recommend you queue up my conversation with Christopher Scott, where we talk all things culinary creativity, how to be thinking about presenting your food differently, working creatively, collaboratively with chefs, and so many more things. If at any point you'd like to pause and check out Marie, Manger Manger online, or any of these specific linkable things that we discuss, please do check out the show notes, which are always available on justinkhanna.com/media, or if you just swipe over, up and or down or across to the description of whatever podcast player you're using. Thanks so much for being with me. Let's get into the conversation.
Yeah.
Do you want to have video on? There's no pressure to have video if you don't want to have video, but if you want to, you can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but you will see my.
That's that's actually you.
For my son, he's doing his games, with it. But as I don't have any, I just borrowed him. So.
This might be the coolest background that I've seen from a guest. This is fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, it's super cool. Is this like your desk setup, or this is like?
Yes, it's my desk, and it's my office, in fact, because now I have a room dedicated to my office now, and so I have all my stuff for all the installation, catering, all the accessories I might need, and it's full of shit, full of objects.
Wow. I'm jealous.
Yes.
I want to visit that next time I come see you. That would be awesome.
Please come.
So that's actually, if you're okay with starting, I'm okay with starting because I thought a fun place to start is where we first met, which is at a restaurant in Paris called Le Chateaubriand.
Yes, I remember so well.
What makes Le Chateaubriand so good?
Yeah. This is a good question. I think that Chateaubriand is the less marketed commercial restaurant that I know in Paris, because nowadays this is so competitive, the business of restaurants in big cities like Paris or New York or wherever. You have all this pressure of who is going to have the best communication, who is going to post the most, who is going to be the most present on social media, and so on. Chateaubriand don't give a shit. And it always has this identity of Iñaki, I think, who is really like a self-taught chef and brilliant person and very creative. I think because of that also, he's totally like, he has, I think, his own community. He has his own friends, and the people with whom he's he has some fun and eating and stuff. But I don't feel like he's getting some inspiration here and there, and he's not that kind of chef who is always looking at other places' feeds. And I think that from the start, he has his own vision of cooking, of food, and I think it's very strong for that. it's very like intense and concentrated. And I must say that everyone is still admire him. And now he has launched like a takeaway business from Chateaubriand, and he's making pizzas. Have you seen that?
Really? No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Good for
So
him.
they installed, and I think it's nice also because he has this vision of the space also, which really I'm sensitive to, because he has installed like a big curtain in front of his store front, which was totally, do you remember, a glass
Yep.
facade,
Yep.
transparent, see-through. And now he has installed his big red curtain like in a cabaret.
Wow.
And he
Yeah.
has cut out like a window, square shape, like a window, from which he takes, he received the orders and he passes the pizza. And I think it's super humoristic, and it's a nice way to be cynical with this situation.
Right.
And why Chateaubriand is doing pizzas. We don't understand.
Sure.
But I haven't tasted them yet, but it seems to be very, very good.
Well,
And he has these crazy toppings also, like fun, fun associations. And it seems very good. So I shall try, and I will send you some pictures.
please do.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fantastic way to, like you're saying, adapt without thinking that you have to make Le Chateaubriand experience to go, say something different. Let's do something completely different.
Yeah, it's totally impossible. And I think that's the trap of many. I don't know if in Seattle, many restaurants are still doing takeaways and deliveries, but I think it's the most big trap for restaurants to totally have the same offer to make takeaways.
Right.
You can't have the same experience.
Well, because it's almost like saying our in-person, you lose something, and our in-person was perfect as it was. Yeah, correct.
So I mean, that's why big like high-end restaurants like Astrance and all these people try to adapt their food into street food. I mean, they're trying to have the dialogue of their sensitivity into food that can be transported,
right,
and not suffer too much from all the packaging and the moisture, problem and all this stuff. I mean, it's a totally different business. So Chateaubriand is doing pizzas. It's incredible. Like people who used to make 3-star Michelin food is making bread and cakes and pastries, and it's very creative in a way.
You mentioned something that I want to kind of go back to, from being focused, not getting swept away with the new trends. How do you protect yourself from that? Like if you and I can acknowledge it's so powerful when you can do this, when you can develop your own style and have an identity, why don't more people do that? Why is it so hard?
I think that it's super hard because we are all very much involved in all this storm of social media, all these images, thousands of images we can see per day. And it's very hard to isolate ourselves from that and stay like anchored in our own identity. But I think that it's super easy sometimes when you get tired or when you don't have the energy to really go deep in your creativity. It's very hard to stay focused and not to be influenced by all these items or colors or shapes or whatever. I think that in case of Iñaki, I think this is really because of his personality, and also I think that he's never been to a cooking school. He has not, done a lot of work in restaurants before opening his own business. So I think that he don't know how to 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 get himself like a raincoat, you know.
Right.
His varnish is still very clean, and the water doesn't really come inside.
Right.
But for me personally, I think that also my background of being interior designer and architect, and to learn how to develop your own identity, because we have to learn to do that also. In school, I used to learn how to go deep inside my memories and my origins, and all what makes you unique to create something. So we don't mind if it's a chair, if it's a new dish, if it's a new apartment, or it's a building, but we have to bring our own answer, right? You don't want to redo something that have been done 100 times. So I think that for me, I learned to do that when I was at school, and then hence I'm recreating this kind of gymnastic in my food now.
When was that moment when you decided that you wanted to do food? What was that? Was there a specific moment, or was it slowly over time you started to see, I'm really interested in this food side of things. Maybe I can do something with food versus just doing interior design. Like, when was that moment?
The moment where I switched is maybe I was like working as a designer for 10 years in big companies, and I think that at one point I was really fed up about doing always the same thing and having the same routine. It's also a matter of how do you work. For me, the first experience I had in interior design was to work in big companies and be salaried.
Right.
So having the same colleague always, and have the same meetings, and have the same result, and the same kind of, you are a coin within a big amount of a big machine. And so I think that 10 years after that, I was kind of fed up with this rhythm, and the difficulty to renew your answers. And so, as food was always my passion, I was thinking, like, if I don't do something right now, I will never be able to change. So I jumped into this this new field, and I never been so happy, even now. Even now, if it's very difficult and very, there's no more events at all, and I'm still creating. I'm still very happy, and everything I'm working on is different each time. And it's a very exciting jump I made.
There's a lot of folks who are having those transitions. They're saying, I don't want to be an accountant anymore. I don't want to work in an office. Food is speaking to me, but it's such a great environment to go into now, because there's so many different food businesses now.
Yeah.
COVID aside, because I know COVID makes everything so difficult. Yeah. What was as you were making that transition? What were some resources that were helpful for you? Did you dive straight into cookbooks? Did you go work at restaurants? Did you go, what was helpful for you to make that transition, to make you feel like you had some confidence in food?
Yeah. This is still a huge subject for me still, because sometimes, even if I'm not working as a chef, and I will never be a chef, it's sometimes very hard, because I feel I don't have the legitimacy. How do you say it in English?
Legitimacy.
To propose, like a full course menu or something. But for me, my proposal is also just a side. It's also something else than just. I could never, compete with you guys, or make a perfect sauce blanche bechamel, or I don't know. I could never compete on that. But my proposal is somewhere else. And I think that the thing that really made me a little more confident is that I made like in France you have like a course called CAP, which give you like a diploma of in a cooking school. So I did a cooking school for 1 year.
Right.
To have this diploma, even if they teach you very basic recipes, like really French classical recipes that have never been reseen for 40 years. So when you make like a bechamel, you have a lot of butter.
Right.
Nowhere you use so much butter now. I mean, and that was something. And then I worked at Vervolé. You remember this restaurant?
Absolutely.
Vervolé and Vervolé-sur-Mer, which is the seafood version of Vervolé, for 1 year. So yeah, there I really learned a lot. And still I'm really close to Olive, who you know Olive, who were the chef of still the chef of Sur Mer.
Sure.
And yeah, it's great because sometimes I have technical question and I can just call her, and we are very like complementary, and she helps me still a lot. So this was a great experience for me because aside of working in restaurant and be able to see, you know, the speed you have to maintain, the rhythm of things, and how do you also work, like you have to organize, you have to be really like, and still Vervolé is not a Michelin-starred. I mean, I think it can be much more rigorous, but all that kind of work I learned within this year of at the restaurant. But and after it was the experience, and honestly I'm still learning a lot every day because I just love to do projects that are not similar. So right. Each time you can't repeat the same gesture, right? You have to create new gesture because it's not the same kind of project. You never work in the same room, in the same area. So each time you have to adapt in a new kitchen. And I mean, so you're still learning a lot, and it's not over.
And I can only imagine that gives you two things, right? It gives you the ability to talk with chefs, to empathize with chefs, to understand what it takes to put on an event or create a specific dish. And it also lets you know what's possible with food, because you know how to butcher, you know how to make sauces, you know how to, right?
Yeah.
And that, you know, I can only, go ahead.
It's very different because when you work in a restaurant, you have this same kitchen, you have that kind of same clientele. And so you can play around your proposal within these base
constraints.
But when you do events, when you do caterings, when you do private dinners, it's always different.
Right.
The attente, how do you say, the thing that people are waiting for, it's not never the same. And you won't be able to do the same food for a 100 or 300 person event for a fashion week, or you would do for a catering for a shooting, or you would do for a private dinner of 12 people for a launch of something.
Right.
It's always, but the thing is that because of this experience in restaurants, and thanks to Olive and thanks to Christopher and thanks to all these friends who are professionals and very much more experienced, I can easily choose what can I make for big events, what can I make for little precious private dinners, and it's never the same, you know.
I have so many questions I want to get into on private events and pop-ups, but there was one to get not off of the topic, but there's a lot of, I've been meaning to ask you about Paris because a lot of chefs grow up hearing these stories of working in Paris. I feel like New York has the same reputation.
Yeah.
Is working in Paris still have the same weight as it used to? And maybe a better question is, how can chefs that want to go to Paris make the most out of their experience being in Paris?
Yeah, I think that today, maybe it's because of the COVID situation, is that Paris have never been I mean, before COVID, Paris had never been so high in terms of quality, price, number, volume of restaurants, of different kind of food. I mean, Paris have reached a level that for me, it was the level of Tokyo when I moved from Tokyo. For me, Tokyo was like you could have the best 3-star Michelin restaurant, you could have the best street food restaurant,
Right.
you could have the best mid food restaurant in every kind of food. And Paris have reached this level, really.
Amazing.
Justin, you have to come back because
I
since
know.
our launch, you have such many new restaurants had opened since that time. And the big trend now for Paris is all these chefs are moving to Provence, which is the countryside of France, and having their own restaurants or bed and breakfast with, like Septime have bought Dunil. You have enormous, you have Auberge de Chassignol, and you have like 10,
James Henry,
20,
right, is doing something.
Yes, Le Doyenné, which is fabulous. And this is the big trend. So I think that people who come to Paris to have an experience in restaurants have to do both. I think that in Paris you have really like now a keen eye on the sourcing of ingredients. I think much more than before, like even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. In good restaurants, we know which are these ones, right? But it tends to be general now. It's really like a conscious, of a lot of restaurateurs to be really keen on the sourcing and to also communicate on that. But I think that most of the experience is to be live in the countryside.
So when you say both, you mean work in Paris, like proper in the city, and then also do something in the countryside?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly like all these, like you have an experience at Septime, at the restaurant, and then you work also 6 months at Dunil, and you have your own garden, and you pick up the veggie every day, every morning, and to accumulate both experience would be, I think, the great way to optimize the experience here in France. Because really, I think before Paris was here and the countryside was here, like here, not visible. And now you really have it tends to, be as interesting as bistro, restaurants. And so I think that, and I think also in other European countries, maybe. I'm not really into in Denmark, I don't know if it's still the same trend, but in Paris it's huge now. Every chef are moving out Paris.
And
really.
Are locals keen on going to make those visits, or are more tourists going to, they go to one place and then they say, okay, we're doing 5 days in Paris, we will do 4 days in the city and 1 day?
As a tourist?
Yeah, both. I mean, are the locals frustrated that the chefs are leaving? Are they excited that there's just new opportunities?
I think they're excited because they have the opportunity to go in area that they haven't gone before. Like, I mean, Auberge de Chassignol?
Right.
It's the place. It's 6 hours in train, and after you have to drive 1 hour. I mean, it's really like if you do Paris, New York, in terms of
totally.
And still it's full always.
Wow.
So people are happy to go there. People are happy to discover like Auvergne. Nobody used to go to Auvergne before. It's really in the center of France, middle of nowhere, and you basically have nothing to do. Yeah. But it's beautiful nature. You have to you can walk around. You can, it's just beautiful. But you don't have like sightseeing, very strong cultural sightseeing. But it's always full.
Yeah.
And we were very happy to go there with friends, and we spent 3 days just chilling and eating well and drinking well, and that's life, you know.
Right.
So if I were a tourist, I would make half and half.
That's great.
Half Paris and half countryside. You have such marvelous, and we are very lucky in France to have a very, very beautiful countryside, very different from one area to another, and a strong food identity also, you know.
Switching
It's
into
very, it's
it's
worth really do the travel.
well, it makes it more sustainable too, because you can, if you're a chef from the US or from Canada or Australia and you're saying, I want to go live abroad for a little while, you can commit to Paris or France in general for 2 years. And you can say, I will do 1 year in the city and 1 year in the countryside. And that's more sustainable than saying, I'm going to move to the city for 3 months and I'm going to sleep on the floor, you know, and I'm going to, you know, it makes it unattractive, right? And not realistic for people.
Yeah, exactly.
When switching a little bit into talking about private events and how you're thinking about pop-ups and dinners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was helpful for you in learning how to run these events and organization? There's a lot of people that are listening right now who are hosting pop-ups of their own, or they're doing catering and, you know, private chef stuff. And so what's helpful? How do you think about organizing yourself for an event?
Yeah. I think the first step is to have this project. So you have to learn how to sell yourself.
Yeah.
And sell your project and your identity and be attractive much more than the other one. And what do you bring new? What kind of newness you bring? And what's your strong point? What's your, you know? So this is the first thing. And I must say that I think that we really should be a good communicator. I don't know how to say it in English, but also be able to really be reactive in sending, you know, presentations, sending your answer, even if you don't have the project yet, but to sell your ideas. What could be your offer? What could be your answer on that proposal? Okay, if a brand asks you, okay, I will have an after show for Fashion Week, what can we do? And you have to be quick, because you don't want to just say, okay, I'm going to make this dish and that cake. No, it's not enough now.
Right.
I think, really, personally, I think it's not enough just to make good food. You have to say something through that food. Why do you propose that food and not other things? Just because it's seasonal, that's a good point, but it's not enough, I think, for us. So I think that you should be really quick into why creating this, quick to answer and quick to show how do you want to present this. And also to be quick to calculate the budget also.
Yeah.
Because that is a very, I mean, nobody's talking about that, but the pricing, the budget, the way to communicate that, why that this dish cost that price, why this service cost that price. And so you have to be really quick. And once you have the project, which is a good
starting
good step,
place. Yeah.
Yes, you should be able to be super organized, right? And I think that cooks are not the best organized people. I mean, they're excellent in organizing the food process, but organizing people to hire, the items to buy, the objects. How do you going to present that stuff? Are you going to buy some? How do you say? Throw away dishes,
Sure.
or are you going to
disposable?
I mean, every details count when you make that kind of event, and I think that you have to have an overview visually and internally, you know, in terms of organization. And so that's a really big part of running an event.
So
and be able to communicate with your client and reassure them also, because sometimes they're like panicked or a bit anxious.
Right.
So I think that for me, running an event was kind of easy because I'm used to be very organized for my project of interior designer, when you have to do a design and follow up some work done to renew a building or something like that. You have to be very organized, and I have like an Excel sheet where I have all my costs lined, and everything is super millimetré.
Yep.
And yeah, that is, I think that's necessary. And also, I think if you're not organized, hire something who can be at your place, at ta place, and this is the base.
So to get even more potentially tactical, practical for the people listening, what does that look like for you? You mentioned Excel. Is it a lot of software? Do you have a ton of notebooks? Like, how do you practically keep track of all this information? Because you're right, it is a lot of emails and text messages and photos from your mood board that you're going to use to influence what plates you're going to use and how the client.
Everything is started with visual references. For me, I don't know how the other person do, but for me, everything starts from visuals.
Right.
So I'm trying to sell my ideas through visuals. So I'm making like references, images, pictures that I can find in books, pictures I can find on internet, or pictures of things I've took.
Yep.
When I walk outside, when I travel, and I have a lot of references, storage in my hardware.
Yep.
And so once it's approved, I'm trying to translate this by items.
Right.
Like, okay, this picture can be translated into, I don't know, I can say anything like a big bread sculpture.
Right.
For example. Okay.
Right.
This picture is like a mountain of choux à la crème. And so I translate everything into really concrete food items or word or ingredients. And then from that, you have to calculate what would be the volume you want to have of each items, and how you're going to present it. So you have a list of what I call hardwares.
Yep.
So how you're going to present all your stuff on plates, on on cement, on terrazzo sample sheets. It could be on a real terracotta plate. You're going to dig into les puces,
right,
or whatever. You have to list every hardware you have to assemble, and another one with all the ingredients, like périssable, the soft ingredients. So
sure.
Food, all the stuff that you might need for the food, concrètement.
Yeah.
And then I have a Excel sheet where I list all the shopping, the orders placed to buy all this stuff or rent.
Yep.
Because sometimes you have to rent furniture, sometimes you have to rent cars, sometimes you have to rent, a lot of stuff.
Right.
So everything is noted, and in order to not forget anything. This is my most, the biggest fear is to forget something, and in order to have a right budget.
Well, that was going to be actually my next question, because us chefs have a lot to learn from industries like architecture, because when you take on a project, you're not charging for the bricks and the steel beams and the materials. You're charging for your time as well to organize the blueprints and the mock-ups and the renderings and the graphics. Do you don't have to tell me how much, but do you charge for this organization time when you're coming up with an event? Because I feel like a lot of chefs don't. A lot of chefs don't do that.
Yeah. For any project, even if it's an event, a big event or a small private dinner, I always include the time that I have to allow to build that project. It could be, think about the project, the preparation time, like going to the shopping, find the right dish, find the right banana leaf you want to present on the table, or I'm saying anything, but I mean,
Right.
all this time should be counted on the final budget, right?
Yeah.
A private dinner is not. Sometimes you have customer that said, "Oh, a dinner for 6 is only 2 hour working." No, it's not.
It's not.
It's all these mails I have to answer you.
Yep.
It's all these the quotation, the time you take for the code, the time you take for all these emails and SMS, the time to think about the menu, to make some tests, sometimes to make prototypes also when it's a bigger event, the time you have to hire people, to train people, all this you have to calculate and to include on the project, as if you were like a creative person,
Totally.
you know.
And
So
I think
all this time should be calculated and fractionated into the project.
I think a lot of chefs get scared to bill for that time because they say, oh, well, the client will say no, or they will go find somebody else. But from my experience, and I don't know if you feel the same, when you actually start to charge for that time, you find that you get better collaborations. You get better clients that treat you. Yeah, they treat you more seriously, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's for our community, like all the food workers and all this community of creative who works into food. It's important also to be respected for that work. I mean, we're not just and it's not pejorative or negative when I say cooks,
right.
But it's not as if we were cooks with a chef that thinks à la place for us. And for the community, it's important to level up all this service so that people understand it's not the same to make like a delivery from Uber Eats and order some food and do like a buffet at home. Okay, you can do that, and there is no problem. But if you want really like a nice party or a nice event with custom-made food just for you, and the feeling that, you know, all the setup and all the food was only made for this special occasion, you will have to like consider that it's a super special service,
right?
And to level up all our works of you, me, our colleagues, it's important, because they could, if someone cannot really understand this particular service and this really like detailed, very like cared with attention, but fine. But people who really want something great, they understand. And more you explain, because you have to explain why you charge this, why it is not just the price of the chicken, you know. Sometimes it's people say, oh, mais c'est pas cher, it's not expensive, the chicken. Why is it so expensive, the dinner? But because it's not the price only of the chicken. You have to the time to have the order of the chicken, you have the time of the cooking, you have the time to test, you have the. So yeah, we have to educate our customer and our clients. And more, I must say, I don't know if it's the case also, but I have the luck that to have that kind of client. They understand.
Same here. We have amazing clients who really trust us to kind of like be creative and make it a good experience that feels like a true collaboration. We really listen to what they want and what they want to see in the food and all of that sorts of stuff. Yeah. You mentioned two very important pieces about teaching and explaining. I can only imagine when you're this organized, it also makes it easy for you to teach the staff, the people who are helping you. So how do you teach people? Like, how do you make that easy? Because it's hard, right? You're not always working with these people every single day.
No,
and so,
because I always hire people who are freelance, and so depending on the project, sometimes I have to hire 10 people and sometimes just one. I try to hire always the same people.
Right.
I mean, I have like a regular base of team, and who are really like now they have followed all my projects, and they know the universe I want to inhale in this project, and they know that it's never easy, and I'm a little bit control freak. So I've never, it's super rare that I just can let them do and not be here physically.
Right. Sure.
This is super scary for me. It's
How did you find?
I don't know if it can happen one day. But
how did you find them? Were they people you met at restaurants or?
Yeah, people I met in restaurants, people that came to me also.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to collaborate in that kind of project. Next time, can you call me or whatever? And some people are really good, so I keep working with them, and it's super great. And if I think that the people management is just as in every other type of activity, if you can fidéliser, how can you say fidelize?
Sure. Like maybe operationalize or
No,
delegate.
no, mais yeah, no, no.
Uh,
You can be faithful to
oh,
them.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah. I
and
understand. Yep, yep, yep.
so the
Yep.
more you can, they can be with you longer, and the best it is. I mean, it's in every business.
Yeah.
So the
Absolutely.
turnover in restaurants, etc., it should be super hard, because all my friends are like having gray hair because of that, and I really understand, because it's a big part of the work, right?
And
To
being
be able
organized helps so much with
right.
like I'm trying to hammer it home as much as I can. Like chefs need to get better at explaining their ideas, being
Yes,
clear, talking about their food,
yes, yes.
drawing, you know what I mean?
Draw,
Like
yeah,
visuals
yeah,
are so helpful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, sometimes I'm surprised. I don't know if you are also, but I'm surprised with my some the people's answer, who is not making as I wanted them to make, but it's kind of nice. And
Yeah.
so I switched to them,
Uh-huh.
it's also like an exchange, and very inspiring to back and forth like that. Sometimes you wouldn't imagine that this ingredient would match in this recipe, and it's great.
Well,
So
because oftentimes when you're creating the menu or designing the dish, you're doing
yeah,
it by yourself in a silo, right? But
yeah,
then when you
yeah,
go to work with people
yes,
at the event, you
yeah,
explain them to do something and they do
yeah,
something very unexpected, and you're touching
yeah,
something there where it's like you're saying you're a control freak, but you also
yes,
don't have the ego where you
no,
say, no, don't do it
no.
like that, do it my way, you know?
No, 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 no. Yes, and you have to keep. I think it's important to leave the space of this surprise, because in a lot of events or pop-ups or dinner, it's nice to have like a surprise and not anticipated um, way of dressage, or way to. It's nice also to allow us that space, you know when you organize something very precisely into details, and you're almost like having headaches, and to allow us also to be surprised.
Right.
It's a nice way to enjoy yourself the events, because it's not just a matter of doing perfectly things after things. It's also to be surprised, and to enjoy, and to uh, to learn something new, and this is the great part also for us.
When you think 20 years in the future and you look back at this project, Manger Manger,
Mhm. Ouais.
is it going, how do you define it as successful? Is it more higher clients? You're doing Fashion Week every year. You're doing,
Mm.
you're traveling maybe. You have a very small atelier that you cook out of.
Mm.
What is success for Manger Manger?
I think that for the success would be to be able to handle not only food project, but everything related to food. So I'm still designing space for restaurants,
Uh-huh.
because it's part of my professional skills. We say
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's around food, right? So I would love to. I have drawn like a set of glasses that I would like to produce. by glass bloomers. How do you say it?
Yeah, blowers.
Yeah,
Yeah, glass blowers.
blowers. Yes. And I would love to also help some vignerons, winemakers,
Yeah.
and to collaborate with a cuvée spéciale,
Wow.
Manger Manger. So for me, I would love to be able in 20 years ahead, be able to say, wow, I did so many things around food, because for me, that is my priority, is that food is the center of my life. And to explore everything around that, you know.
No, that's great.
So for me, it's to have that 360 degrees vision around food would be the best. But it's so hard to be able, because I don't know if it's in the US it's like that, but in France, people tend to put you in a box.
Right.
So when you do caterings, oh, what kind of caterings you do? Oh, it's only shooting? No, it's global. Oh, okay, you don't. So everything is so stickered, you know. You are doing this and not anything else, or you're an expert of that, but just different. You're not.
Right.
And so it's very difficult to explain to people that you can handle different type of projects. But I'm staying focused on my path, and I'm sure that with a little time, people will be a little bit more open. But I think in the US, it's much more wise.
Kind of. I mean, a little bit. Sometimes it's the same. In my opinion, it's because we're trying to do the same thing. Like we're doing events, not always with food, you know, but we're also wanting to shoot shows and to produce content online and do all this sorts of stuff in my business. And so it's not easy. And I think your point about being confident and communicating what your idea is, you just have to do it long enough, and then all of a sudden people see you differently. I don't know when that moment is, when it switches, but it's like, you know, Apple can make a phone and a TV show, you know, like they can do so many things. They can do, and it's all Apple, and you know what to expect. So it's just confidence over time.
Over time, and also education.
Constantly have to be educating. And reminding people, you have to remind people over and over and over again, this is what we do, this is what we're capable of, you know, this is the types of projects that we can do. It's so hard. So I feel you.
But this podcast is really a good thing, because you can communicate so much theme and so much aspect of the food industry. It's a marvelous idea to do that.
Totally. And I just hope it helps people. You know, I just want to help people.
Yeah.
Anything big topic-wise that you wanted to talk about? I have some quick questions for you before we close, but is there any other big topics that you want to talk about or discuss, or?
No, you're... maybe I will...
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah.
So, is there a book that you've read as you're thinking about entrepreneurship or cooking or events, a book that has brought you a lot of value or been impactful for you?
Okay. It can be an art book.
Yeah,
right?
please.
Not, so this is... Wait a second.
Yeah.
Les dîners de gala.
Oh.
It's Dali's.
Dude.
Okay. And so people won't be able maybe to have a look at the pictures, but it's all the setup that he used to make for dinners and for buffets, and there's recipes, and it's just fantastic, and it's very joyful.
Wow.
You know,
he was so prolific.
Surrealist, you know, surrealistic way to present snails.
Wow.
You know, so that removed a lot of complex.
Yeah.
And you know, you can go really further. You know, it shows you that the experience can be really brought higher, and we don't have to keep things into plates and dishes.
Right.
We can explore a lot. You know, a little butter on a
Wow.
table. It's 10 kilo butter.
Wow.
So yeah, all these proportions, the scales, it gives me a lot of freedom.
Sure. Shows you what's possible.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll give you the title.
Yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah. Great,
yeah.
great. Is there a technique that you're still intimidated?
Sorry.
Yeah. Another book. No, it's good.
Another book,
It's good.
which is different, but it's Eating at Hotel Pelicano.
Uh-huh.
Do you know the Hotel Pelicano?
I don't know. No, I know. I've never heard of this.
Italy, in the besides Napoli, on a sublime island, and it's a photograph very well known named Jürgen Teller.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super. He shoots only fashion pictures and still life, and he shooted all the plate, the menu of this hotel.
Wow.
In a way that is almost erotic.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
He's really into the very close to the food, and it's a really new way to take pictures of food.
Yeah. Not expected. Very unexpected.
No. With
wow.
flash.
Yeah.
It's not really, you don't want to eat, you know? It's not gourmand, but it's annoying. It's like limit disturbing.
Right.
And I find it very interesting in that point of view.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is it's not edited anymore, so you have to find it second hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Voilà.
Is there a technique that you're still intimidated by in the kitchen? Whether it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically, huh?
Yeah.
Technically, all the cut of a big piece of meat.
Yeah, butchering.
Yeah. I still don't know really how to do it, because I never had to do it a lot, and yeah, this is very intimidating for me, and I have to learn. Maybe
you should go spend 3 months at Christopher's new restaurant.
Yes,
Damsgaard.
You know, we helped him design the restaurant.
I know. I helped unwrap the chairs. Did I tell you that?
Yes, I remember the socket, the yellow socket. And yeah, that's true. I have to have a course. Ouais.
You'll just get to do a lot. Like when you're learning how to butcher, the best thing you can do is do it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because like Christopher, so everybody that's listening, Christopher, my last chef that I worked for in Norway, owns Lysverket and Damsgaard and Hogorm in Bergen. And that's how he took me to Paris for a guest chef dinner, and that's where Marie and I met. Yeah. And I would do like 25 pig heads a week, butchering over and over and over and over again. And the same with the fish, you know, like you get the cod, you have to do cod over and over and over again. Because it's like, I think a lot of people approach butchering like, I do it one time and I know how to do it. But I mean, you've probably done it with chickens, for example, right? Like you do your 12th chicken and you finally feel like you understand how the anatomy works and all that sorts of stuff. Yeah. And Damsgaard would give you that, I think.
Yeah.
You know? They go through a lot of meat.
Yeah, and we're completely agree that to do that we should be in a restaurant, because it's the only place where you have day by day the same gesture, right? Right. Because so I have to really to ask him.
One day, when you have time. I know you're busy.
No, when you have time, and if he wants to have me in his restaurant, it's not. Yeah, but I'd love to.
How? So maybe it's a Saturday, or it's a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, and you wake up and you need to make eggs for yourself. How do you make your eggs?
Yeah, this is super tough question, because I don't like eggs.
Uh-oh. So maybe for somebody else, maybe for someone else is staying with you.
Yeah, I must say that when I was young in Japan, you know, there is a dish. Have you tasted this?
Which one?
There is a dish which is just a plain rice, Japanese rice, right? With raw egg beaten, poured onto this white rice, and sauce soja, shoyu. Yep. And that's it. Wow. And this is a very basic breakfast for Japanese people. But when I tried this coming to Europe, the eggs are not the same. I don't know why, but
really?
it went wrong. So I don't eat that anymore, but I used to love that. And so for us, it would be a falacoque.
Uh-huh.
A falacoque,
Sure.
which is
Yep.
3 minutes
Yeah.
of a coque with butter and a nice bread of levain, of le pain des amis or mamiche. Le pain des amis,
Yep.
this,
Yep. Totally.
yeah. So
Is
that would be the egg.
What's one thing that you've changed your mind on recently?
Honestly, to quit buying food, not knowing exactly where it come from.
Wow.
I mean, all this COVID thing, I was really sensitive already with all the sourcing, but it's really like, smashed my face.
Yeah.
And I'm really much more into details now. So everything I can from Paris, and I still buy avocado. I still buy, many things that are not coming from France, but I change a lot my way to consume, my way to buy products and ingredients a
Is
lot.
that getting more popular or less popular in France, would you say?
I think that a lot of people are like me.
Yeah, getting more
And
popular.
so I also like have a compost
Yeah. Yep.
box,
Yep. Yep.
because now in Paris you can have this freely. They give you the box and the worm inside to make your own compost. And people are more sensitive, but it really shocked me a lot. All these things.
You somehow get a call right after we get off the phone, and
Mm-hmm.
you've just won an all expenses paid trip to eat at your dream restaurant. And when you get
Mm-hmm.
there, there's someone you've always wanted to have dinner with waiting to sit with you and have that dinner. What is the
How?
restaurant and who is that person?
Wow. I think that it's not a question of restaurant, but it's more a question of a country. I would love to go back to Japan because I miss the country so much now.
Me too.
You too?
Yeah.
It's really like I'm really homesick now, and so I would go to a very good sushi
Mm.
or a very good unagi restaurant,
Yep.
which is
Yep.
Hills. I
Yeah.
love this, and to have a family dinner. I won't be fancy. Either my father, either Grace Jones. I don't know. I'm hesitating. And,
Where in Japan? Tokyo,
yeah,
Kyoto? Okay,
Tokyo,
Tokyo.
my
Tokyo.
hometown.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have lots of family back there still?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, my parents are in Nagano, which is in north of Tokyo, in
Yeah.
the mountains.
Yeah.
But the rest of my Japanese side of family is at Shizuoka, when they have all the green tea fields, and near the Mont Fuji. And I miss them a lot. So
You
I would love to go there.
What do you think chefs can be doing better to help the next generation?
To be gentle to themselves. I think that now you have now it's time to be gentle to yourself and not to work 20 hours per day, and not to shout it to each other, and to treat people well, and to have an organization to be able to hire more women who has children. It's a big social issue now in chefs and restaurants fields. I think it would be great, because now more and more people are maybe not enough, never enough, but more sensitive to ingredients, and to be local, and maybe in big cities and not enough in small cities, but I don't know. But now the social aspect would be the next step, right? No more harassment in any way. no more arguing, no more shouting, no more swearing. How do you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Profanity. Yeah.
Oui.
Hmm.
Ouais. Yeah.
Is it the same problem that's happening? So in the US right now, it's very difficult for restaurants to rehire chefs. Like it's very difficult because a lot of people
Yeah.
are saying, I had a job at a restaurant, COVID happened,
Mm.
and I got laid off. I'm
Yeah.
unemployed. I have no
Yeah.
income and there's no promises. I have no idea when I will work again. And
Yeah.
so you want me to come work for $12 an hour and
Yeah.
be a chef for you? No way. I will go
Mm.
do something else. I can do something
Yeah.
else. I can work on my computer. I can do
Yeah.
something else. Maybe it's in
Yeah.
food, but it's very hard. And I think all those things that you're saying are
Mm.
necessary if we want to have restaurants be
Mm.
what they were
Yeah.
again. So like it's not
Yes.
just the money, right? Like you're talking about
No.
these other things,
Yeah. Of course.
this other
No. No.
side.
It's not about money because
Yeah.
here in France we are lucky enough and you have always money issues, right?
Right.
Because you have a lot of cash workers and all that stuff, but in France we're lucky enough to be protected by the government, right? So people who are not working anymore, they can have like a chômage, which
Right.
is 80% of your income given by the state, by the country. So it's we are super lucky, and that's why people want to go back to work because it's their work. But I think that a lot of people will be rusty at the beginning
Yeah.
because you know that they have spent so many time now during the evening with their family. They know now what it feels like to be at home, sharing a meal with the kids, having a movie with her wife, and and I wish it will change a bit because they now experienced how it feels to have a normal life. I don't know what is a normal life, but
Yeah.
it's not really normal to be out 6 nights per week, right?
Right.
So yeah, yeah, I think this is the big challenge of the upcoming years.
I agree.
Mm.
Any last topics? Any other things that you want to discuss or share with people, or ask people to do after they're done listening to this? I have all of your links linked up for people if they want to come ask you questions or follow you or
Okay.
anything like that. But
No, my big thing is that I wanted to, that brings me to
yeah,
say that
yeah,
there's a big problem in the industry regarding the women. And I think that in France, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but a lot of women that used to be chef and cooks in restaurants after having their family and have their kids um, change
yeah,
the aspects of work. So it's like Aline, who is the
right,
wife of Inaki,
yeah,
who has her own, lunch meal shop. Like she's making the most great sandwiches and the best salad of Paris, and it's very simple, but it's yet very good with good products. And in order to be able to be at home every night, for her kids. So a lot of women now have their own creative business of food because they can't work anymore in restaurants. So really it's nice because it pushes us to be creative and to find our own path to continue to do what we love to do, so cook basically, in order not to be dependent to something that is really like stretchy,
yeah, yeah,
when you work in a restaurant it's very difficult to do, oh no, I'm doing only lunch, or so
right.
I wish, I wish things can be a little more smooth and simple for everyone. Of course, the boss, like the propriétaire, and also for the workers, men and women.
So keep going on that, if you don't mind, like there are a lot of men that are listening to this show. So how can we? Is it more flexibility you mentioned?
Yes.
But what questions can we ask to make it more normal for people to talk about these things and to potentially attract. Because if we're agreeing, Marie, for example, that like it would actually be really beneficial for us to not have to, as a restaurant, if we have a hypothetical restaurant, to have 20 people on staff full time. It would actually be much more flexible for us if we could have, 8 of those 20 be part time. And if you're telling me that there are this entire subsection of people who want to work, in food, they just can't do 50 hours a week, for example. So is that creating new roles in the brigade, like more like a tournant style position where you can bounce around and do other things? Like, how can we get practical with me? Like, what questions can we be asking? What roles can we be creating?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's when someone come up with that question, not to to see them like a problem, like oh, what's quoi encore, kind of that type of a reaction people can have when you come up with this kind of flexibility question, and really to discuss with the whole team. I think not to target with this person specially or that person, is a matter of the team process. So I think it's very difficult to give a general answer because each restaurant is so different.
Totally.
Some restaurants won't be able to open weekends. It's not a problem because it's in a business area, or others are only open for lunch or only dinners. And so I think that more to include the team more in that kind of planning or flexibility regarding all the cuisine would be a good start maybe. But for me, there's no right answer to be diffused on every restaurant, because it won't be able to fit everywhere.
Well, you're right from the sense of, if you started if Le Chateaubriand, we tell Chateaubriand, you need to change your entire brigade structure and your entire business model, it's very hard to ask. That's a very hard question. But if you're starting something today and you're noticing the job market and you're saying people want flexibility, people want to be able to have another job, or people want to be able to have time with their family, or whatever, could you create your business model to allow for this more flexible kind of like the gig economy almost?
And more generally, I think also that this COVID situation taught us that having only one model is dangerous.
Right.
So maybe it's enhancing also what can be the other facet of a restaurant. Can it be like having their own product and to sell their own product based on the expertise of the restaurant? Can it be like consulting for I don't know which brands or farmers or whatever? So I think that more generally, flexibility will be the key of the survivor of the survivance of the future year to come, because a restaurant cannot stay just a restaurant, I think.
Right, I agree.
Because this situation of COVID will be like regular, maybe. I don't hope so, but
no.
As a matter of fact, it would be regular. Okay, so if a restaurant should close, you should be able to deliver quick, to have a super optimized menu, to have takeaways, to develop your potential of moving the restaurant into people's house.
Yep.
To be able to send your own produits dérivés, finished product, or all these things, to sell the way they communicate, maybe for other businesses. So yeah, and all these aspects can be developed within the team, maybe.
Right.
I'm
excited for not the reverse, but a different kind of model where a large fashion brand or a sunglasses company or a shoe company or a travel lifestyle organization says, you know what? we don't just want to sell products.
Yeah.
We want to be able to sell experiences. We
Yeah.
want to open a restaurant.
Yeah, like
So,
Gucci.
yeah, Gucci opens a restaurant.
Firenze.
Who's going to be the chef of the restaurant? You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about all these financial constraints because
Yeah.
the big company is, you know, a part of
Yeah.
this whole thing. And then that
Yeah.
gives so much opportunity for chefs because now they don't have to,
Yeah.
it's not that they don't have to manage their food cost, but it's
Yeah.
like it's less pressure. And less
Yeah.
pressure means less tempers, which means better
Yeah.
working environment, which means all these other things
Yeah,
down
that's
the line.
true.
So
Yeah, yeah. And also in Paris, you have a lot now with groups like LVMH opening like museums and
Right.
opening the renewal of a great department store called Samaritain. Donc they hired Jean-Michel Bras. Donc It's not LVMH, it's a new museum held by Pinault, who is the owner of Saint Laurent, you know, the big group. And he hired Bras for the restaurant of the new museum in Paris, made by Tadawando.
Wow.
So it's like a
yeah.
super team, you know. And I think it will be amazing. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, more crossover, you know, more transversal. I don't know how you say it, but transversal exchange of skills, and how the food industry can nourish also the culture, how the culture can nourish the food industry, how the luxury or how fashion can also be dialoguing with the food.
Right.
This will be also the next big thing, I think. It has started still, but it will be more and more.
Anything else? Anything else we missed? I want to let you get back to your night.
No, it's I'm super happy to have discussed about all things this subject, and it's nice that you're really like having these good questions. Yeah, so no other topics, but just I'm super proud.
Me too. And it's always like I'm so happy that you share as much as you do, so I can see what you're up to and what you're working on and all the amazing events that you're working on and sharing. I just wanted to get to Paris sooner than later.
Yeah,
I miss it a lot.
We are waiting for you, you know. So come when the restaurants are open. But
I know.
Yeah, we are waiting for you.
Yeah, you'll be my first meal off the plane again.
Yes.
The first.
You know, they open up a second restaurant, so we have to try the second one.
Really?
Based on more Chinese, Asian.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good too.
Okay. Well, until next time, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Justine.
What's up? Justin here again. Because, I mean, if you're still listening, you didn't not like this episode, right? And if that's the case, I'd like to think that you'd get value from the other work that I share here online. It's all focused on helping chefs and hospitality professionals perform better. If you don't have a lot of time, the best place to start is with the email newsletter that I write every single week called the 80/20 Edge. That's where I share knowledge on sharpening your skills, asymmetric upside, and exploring the industry beyond the status quo. And I say it saves time because I include all of the content that I publish that week all in one place as kind of a weekly digest of sorts. Next up, you should check out my YouTube channel for gear reviews, clips from podcasts just like this one, and documented experiences from some of the best restaurants in the world. And lastly, if you'd like to learn about my intense cohort-based professional development-focused course, get coaching from me to help you make your next move, or just support the show, you can check out justinkhanna.com/support. And if you do support this show already, that's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Finally, it really does help to share a review of this show on Apple Podcasts to help the podcast universe know that people like us like shows like this. And until the next episode, my name is Justin Khanna, and I hope you have a good one.